Leo was an ugly, worthless, isolated child who was betrayed by humanity for being the strongest, overpowered hero and reincarnated by God as a demon lord to destroy the entire world. In the year 447, the demon lord's skeletal army rushed towards the human soldiers, but even as they slayed the humans, all of them were revived and blessed with godly powers from the angels. And when a giant dragon began raining fire on his castle, Leo sat inside of his corridor, watching how the 6 heroes destroyed all of his strongholds after being blessed with the gods. Once all of his skeletons were annihilated by a magical tree, priests began praying to cast the branches to destroy his last base, and Leo saw Ericale, the great sage who reincarnated with God's powers. With his anger swelling, he swore to burn him alive, but his Fenrir general reminded him of his vow to the goddess of rebellion, so Leo accepted defeat to keep his oath. As his castle was falling down, Leo dropped his wand and promised that he would reincarnate in 1,000 years to destroy all of humanity. After a millennia had passed, 2 girls began exploring the ruins of his castle, looking to eliminate the nest of giant voids inside. As they explored deeper, Celia realized they were entering the demon lord's tomb, and they eventually made it to the demonic gate, where she saw writing in a language she'd never seen before, so she tried translating it with her phone. However, it was as worthless as her companion Regina, who said that she would go looking for explosives in the other room. As soon as she left, Celia touched the door and activated the magic seal, opening it in that instant. With the flames burning on, she saw a giant crystal in the middle, and her radar's limiter broke, but she saw a person was trapped inside. When Leo reincarnated himself, he remembered meeting Roselia, the goddess of rebellion, who told him that 1,000 years from now, she'd be waiting for him in her child form, and disappeared before his eyes. At the same time, Celia continued firing at the crystal to free him, but Leo thought she was trying to rob his grave, so he destroyed the crystal to eliminate her. But as he got closer, he realized that she was the hottest girl he'd ever seen, and she wondered why a child was stuck inside a prison seal. When he looked to the side, he realized that he was back in his child form from when he was a hero, and Celia wondered how he got trapped inside. She began patting him down and hugged him to her chest, telling him that his sister will take care of him. Leo wondered how she could be so disrespectful to the demon lord, but suffocated inside of her huge cannons. By the time he woke up, he realized that his body was pathetic because of how easily he was subdued, and couldn't believe that he liked the way she disrespected him, but realized that he owed her his life for sharing her rations with him. The girl introduced herself as Celia, a member of the Excalibur Academy, and when she asked for his name, he realized that he could extract the information he needed by lying to her. But after saying that he was a 10-year-old named Leo, she thought he had a cute name, and he realized that her reaction indicated that his past was completely erased from history. However, since he was a child without any memory, she realized that he was definitely kidnapped by the voids. At the same time, Regina's limiter nearly maxed out, so she summoned her holy sword. Celia went on to explain that voids were dark creatures and they didn't know anything about them, or why they were called voids, and Leo thought this bitch was just as useless as her explanations. The only thing he wanted to know was what year it was on the Holy God calendar, but she didn't know what the Holy God calendar was, and told him it was year 64 of the unified human calendar. Just then, the earth began to quake, and Celia tried to protect Leo from the falling rocks, promising that she'll save him. The void broke through the walls of the room, but none of Celia's shots had any effect on the beast, so to prevent it from destroying his sacred mausoleum, Leo prepared to cast his magic, but fell flat on his face. With the ogre about to slash them down, Regina fired a golden beam to cut its arm off, but the ogre managed to stand back up, so Regina transformed her holy sword into a dragon blaster. Seeing the light that was forming, Leo knew it wasn't magic, and the impact it had on the void monster was stronger than a phase 4 explosion spell, so he wondered how it was still able to stand. Regina told them to start running away, so Leo took Celia's hand and realized that all of his reincarnation plans failed with this pathetic body. His only source of information was the hot girl moving him, but before them, a crystal fell down and a wyvern-class void appeared. Celia begged him to run away, but Leo was determined to use his powers to eliminate the beast and activated the magic from his wand. But before the wyvern would slash him down, Celia pushed him away and took the lethal blow instead. With her tomato juice coming out, she begged him to run to the surface with Regina, but a second void appeared along with a third wyvern. However, he wouldn't run and held her hand as she apologized for not being able to protect him, passing away. That same lifeless face reminded him of when the goddess revived him after being betrayed, and as the wyverns tried beating him down, He felt ashamed that he had taken a liking into the brave girl, so he promised to give them a fate worse than death. With his wand, he activated a Phase 8 gravity spell and crushed one of them down. None of them were able to crack his shield, so he stabbed the second one, and while the third tried running away, he released his ultimate fire spell to burn the dragon to a crisp. With this weak body, he felt that only a third of his power could be released. But even the bones somehow survived his Phase 8 spell. Looking over Celia's body, he knew that human life didn't matter to him, but because she risked her life to save him, he promised to do what he can, even though all his spells were related to death. In that moment, he casted an insignia on her leg, and the blood began entering back into her body, with fangs forming on her mouth. Even if she'd be angry with him when she learned the truth, he knew it would be better than letting her pass away. Regina managed to eliminate the last void beast, and as she tried communicating to Celia, he realized that humans had developed extremely advanced technologies over time. Celia regained consciousness and hugged onto Leo for being safe, but was shocked to see that she was still alive, so he revealed that he healed her with his holy sorcery. However, she had no idea what sorcery meant, and Leo wondered just how much of the ancient world had disappeared. Celia thought he possessed a holy sword, so Leo decided to go along with her bullshit, and she told him that holy swords appeared in humans when the voids invaded the earth. Because of that, everyone with those abilities joined the army, so Regina is one of the holy sword users. But Leo never knew that souls could manifest into weapons, and wondered why Celia didn't have one. Regina finally came back, but Celia asked Leo where the wyvern voids disappeared off to, so Leo said that he was just shaking and it disappeared when he got up. Outside the cave, Celia told him to ride her, and as they drove away, Regina tried introducing herself.
What's all that movement back there? What's all that movement back there? There's a whole lot of clapping.
Leo said it was really nice to meet them, but Regina told Celia that Leo wasn't being polite. However, Celia told her that she's just imagining things, and that there would be a whole lot more motion on the bumpy road. While riding away, Regina told him to enjoy hugging onto Celia, but apologized for teasing him after being kidnapped, but thought a little shock might help him regain his memories. Celia told her to stop before Leo grows up to call himself a man of culture, but Regina said that all guys have dirty minds anyway. Leo was the almighty undead king, but had no idea why it felt so good being ridiculed by the girl, and realized he'd be the type who liked getting stepped on at anime conventions. As they got closer to the base, Celia showed Leo humanity's last stronghold, one of the 7 assault gardens around the world, and it finally clicked that he was actually reincarnated 1,000 years in the future. 6 years ago, the voids entered through the dimensional gate, and Regina hugged tightly onto Celia, worried that all of their family would perish. However, Celia told Regina that her parents, along with all the other knights, would never lose the battle. And as the building began to quake, she told Regina that she would protect everyone once she got her holy sword. Her entire life, she'd been studying all the books her dad gave to her, and even her bigger sister had bought her a dress for all the dances she'd be invited to, with all the friends she would make at school. The building continued quaking as the sound of the explosions kept getting louder, but Celia kept screaming that everything would be fine. But they both knew that nothing would be the same. As the emergency lights went off, Celia tried running to help her family, but Regina held her back. However, Celia said that her family had never lost a single fight, and promised that everything would be alright. But when the explosions stopped, and the doors opened, both of them were long asleep. The entire city was in ruins, and every single soldier had been eliminated. Hearing those words made Celia collapse, as she apologized to Regina for lying to her that everything would be fine. Ever since that day, Celia knew nothing would be the same, and promised she would never lie again. Leo wondered if this entire place was a stronghold, so the girls told him that they also lived and trained here. This was the first time he'd ever seen an island this massive, except for Regina's massive cannons. Regina told him that it was also able to travel across the ocean to protect humans from all over the world. Celia announced to her leader that they managed to rescue a refugee, and said that he possessed one of the holy swords, saying he had healed her wound because of his kind refugee heart. Leo wondered why the f*** they kept calling him a refugee, so Regina said that it referred to people who lost their homelands because of the voids, and Celia told him that it was one of their missions to save all the refugees. They need more people who are as powerful as him to support them on the front lines. But it was getting late, so Regina began leaving to buy groceries when they came back. Once she was gone, Celia told him that he's on his own for the examination, and that she would meet up with him later. But before going through the door, Leo went inside the bathroom, angry at how everything ended up horribly wrong. His plan of rebuilding his demon army was basically worthless now, as humans had advanced without limits, and void monsters were stronger than most of his lead generals. On top of that, he had a worthless child's body, so he called Blackus and Sherry out. He told them that it's been a long time, but when Sherry laid her eyes on him, she thought that this was his cutest adorable form. He told her to shut her ugly mouth up, and Blackus was shocked to see him in his heroic form, since they had met after he became the Demon Lord. He told them that he had a favor to ask, and said that this land was an artificial land created by humans, and since they kept referring to it as the 7th fortress, he knew there must be 6 more. Because of how powerful they had become, Blackus thought that even their pee smelled different, while Sherry couldn't believe they'd be capable of building all these structures when they were too weak to defeat a single elf. To study their powers, he wanted to infiltrate their military compounds and eat their foods, but Sherry was disappointed because she wanted to be the one who took care of him. When he told her to shut her mouth before showing her why he was called the Bone King, she apologized for disrespecting her master, so he told them to get out of his face, and both of them disappeared. At the entrance to the town, Pipes came and blew a mysterious wind on him, and after walking forward, a limiter tried measuring his mana. However, as he got closer, the limiter began going off, so he used his mana suppression to lower his detectable powers and walked forward. Finally, 2 poles appeared and scanned a laser at him, and when he was done, a machine spat out his card. As he looked at it, Celia came to take a photo of it, saying that she has everything necessary for registering the abilities of his holy sword. Since he didn't have one, he knew that he had to make some shit up on the spot. But Celia told him that she would be taking him on a tour first. Along the way, he saw how advanced their civilization had become and realized that this was actually a peaceful place to live in. Before his eyes, she showed him Excalibur Academy, but when she asked him if it was amazing, Leo calmly said it was. However, she thought he would have a crazier reaction, but Leo couldn't believe it was even bigger than his largest stronghold. As they walked around, she showed him the library, the classrooms, and the auditorium before they ended up at the research lab. These places were only a fraction of all the places in the city, and there were even more dorms for where they lived. On top of that, there was a bath and a dance hall. But Leo had no idea why they would need those for war, so Celia explained that holy swords were brought out by a person's emotions, and failed to appear when a person was depressed. Because of that, all military compounds in the past failed at maximizing the holy sword's potential. But Leo felt something was off about the way they mysteriously appeared. As she kept showing him around the city, Celia collapsed, but told Leo that she was okay. Since she'd been gone for 2 days, she needed to get back to training as soon as she rested to get her holy sword out. And Leo wondered why she was the only one lacking a sword. While walking around the academy, one of the girls thought Leo was cute, but the other told her to watch out because he might grow up to become a demon lord in bed. Leo wondered how she knew he was the demon lord, but thought it was just a coincidence. Seeing how all of them were girls, he wondered if this was an all-girls academy, but Celia told him that it just appeared that way because they were in the female dorms area. Just then, some ugly guy who looks like he's been fighting an addiction for the last 12 years appeared, and made fun of her battle scar because she was too unfit to go on expeditions. However, Celia tried to ignore Muzel and leave with Leo, but Blondie stopped her from leaving and asked her who Leo was. When she told him it was none of his business, he started laughing in her face because she was babysitting an ugly kid now. Even though he was disrespectful to the King of Bones, Leo tried overlooking it to appear normal. Muzel told Celia that she could join his platoon and never worry about risking her life again, especially with how useless she was at summoning a holy sword despite her bloodline. And with his collection of toys, he promised that he'd take care of her, but Leo knew that they were under his mind control spell. However, Celia told him that she wasn't interested and tried walking aside, but Muzel grabbed her hair and restrained her. As she yelled in pain, Leo screamed at him and stared with gleaming eyes, and when Muzel asked what his ugly ass would do, Leo casted his demonic spell towards him, making his legs quake until he fell onto the floor. He asked Muzel